you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur.
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est Canadien qui complète le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Coupe Stanley pour les Canadiens. Le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Good evening, everyone. Marinaro, the Sick Podcast, the Habs post-game. Game 1 is in the books, and the Montreal Canadiens unfortunately fall by a score of 3-2 in overtime to Alexander Ovechkin'd, who scored 2, including the game winner, of course, for the Washington Capitals. Let's take a look at the bright side. The Canadiens came back in this hockey game down 2-0, and they tied it up when not too many people gave them a chance. A lot of people had given up on them after one period of play, saying the Capitals are too big, their Capitals are too strong, the Capitals are running all over them, the Canadiens aren't built for the playoffs, yada, 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 blah, 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 blah. And the Montreal Canadiens came back. It's a bright spot. Caulfield scores, one of the Canadiens' better players. It's a bright spot. Captain Suzuki ties it up. It's a bright spot. Unfortunately, what was the game plan versus Alexander Ovechkin tonight, who had 2 goals and 1 assist? We'll ask Pierre Maguire, because whatever it was, it needs working on. But it's a game of mistakes, and usually young teams and players that lack experience in the playoffs end up making them, and the Montreal Canadiens did a lot of those. We'll talk about it. It is the Sick Podcast, and we're live on YouTube, live on Facebook, and live on Twitter, and thank you for being with us. The Sick Podcast is brought to you in part by Playground. I'm going to talk to you about them. Playground, Global Poker Awards. Have you heard about them? Well, I'm going to tell you right now that if you're looking for the ultimate entertainment destination, Playground is your ticket to nonstop thrills. Experience heart-pumping gaming action, a world-class poker experience. Playground is the 2025 winner of Fan Choice Best Poker Room at those Global Poker Awards that I was just talking to you about. Indulge your taste buds at our incredible restaurants, then let loose with live music and electrifying DJs. Enjoy unmatched customer service just minutes from downtown Montreal, right across the Mercier Bridge. Why settle for ordinary when you can have extraordinary, and you can have that at Playground. Also brought to you part by Energy Transportation Group, a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America. They are driven to be different. 2 people, 2 friends of mine will join me tonight. The first one is Brian Wilde. Let me bring him in.
How are you, my friend? That was another great third period comeback, is how I read that one.
Yeah, look, once you come back in those games, you really want to take advantage, right? You want to win those games because, let's be honest here, although we're going to look at the bright side and say the Montreal Canadiens can hang with the Washington Capitals and they can play with the Washington Capitals, and we'll take a look at their shots. Obviously, you want to take away home ice advantage as soon as you can, and if you take it away in game 1, then all of a sudden you start putting a doubt in the minds of the Washington Capitals, the players, the coaching staff, their fan base, all of that. And then the pressure is on them to absolutely not only win game 2, but then go into your arena and win one of them, because they say you're not in trouble until you lose a game on home ice. That's the good news for Montreal Canadiens fans, I guess. It's now time for the Maguire Report.
The Maguire Report. Presented by Vago Italian.
Okay, so to all my friends, please stop sending me 10,000 text messages right now at this time of year. I am working, and I am hosting here the Habs post game, the Sick Podcast, and of course Pierre Maguire and the Vago Report. And we're glad to announce, Pierre, that the Vago Report was committed for a regular season partnership, and they have absolutely wanted in on the playoffs. So Restaurant Vago opened 23 years, longevity. Not many restaurants are open that long. Tommaso's the most popular man in Westmount. He's at the front of the house. His partner, Angelo, is in the kitchen making sure that the dishes are presented very well. They're looking very good. They taste great with, all kinds of fresh ingredients. Come see those gentlemen. Private dining rooms for any occasion, birthdays, engagements, corporate meetings. Plenty of free parking after 6 on Green Avenue, corner of the Maisonneuve. Open Monday to Saturday evenings and lunch from Tuesday to Friday. And once again, fresh quality ingredients, old world Italian classics, and new Italian at Restaurant Vago Italien. Pierre Maguire, how are you?
I'm excellent. Tony, Brian, nice to visit with you. I'm probably like a lot of Montreal Canadiens fans. I was so excited about the way the team responded. They weathered the first 7 to 10 minutes. Not easy to do in that building. It was a physical assault right from the start by Washington, and they hung in there. I give Montreal, Caden Gooley's, it must be one tough son of a gun, because there were some monster hits delivered on him. But you battle back, you get to a tie, and then you lose in overtime. It's just like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So you can't worry about it now. It's spilt milk. You just got to move on. But that's a tough one. That's a real tough one.
Pierre, this game was really divided into so many different segments. Period number 1, period number 2, period number 3, and the overtime. There was different things that happened. Let's go back to the start. One of the things that has had a lot of Montreal Canadiens fans talking about, of course, is the fact that Arber Xhekaj did not play in many important games down the stretch for the Canadiens. We didn't think he was going to play tonight. I bring up Xhekaj because I don't know about you guys, but I was inundated with messages when Ovechkin'd hit Caulfield and he went flying like 8,000 feet. When Tom Wilson, ran over Caden Gooley and he went flying as well. It's clear that the game plan was to hit the Montreal Canadiens and hit their better players. Caulfield got hit a lot. Gooley got hit a lot. Lane Hutson got hit a lot. I thought in period number 1, Gooley and Hutson looked uncomfortable because sometimes it almost seemed like they didn't want to touch the puck because they probably thought they were going to get hit. I don't know if that's fair or not, and I don't know if that's true or not. That's what it seemed like. Mike Matheson was making, I thought, a lot of mistakes in period number 1, and the fan base were clamoring for Arber Xhekaj, saying, man, what are you doing, Marty St. Louis, by not playing Arber Xhekaj? Pierre, we don't know if the Capitals would have been that physical with Xhekaj in the lineup. What we do know is that they were that physical tonight. They out-hit the Montreal Canadiens 42-33. It's pretty, but the huge hits came from the Capitals. We'll start with this, Pierre. After watching this game, after the coaches watch this game, do you think that they'll take the decision to put Arber Xhekaj in the lineup next game?
Yeah, and I thought Arber Xhekaj would miss game 1, but I thought he'd play in game 2 for precisely what we're talking about right now. I said it on your show last week. I said it on the eye test last week, and I say it on Mitch Melnick's radio show. So I've been pretty sure that he was going to play game 2. I'd be shocked if he's not in game 2. Here's the one caveat everybody needs to know. The linesmen know it. The referees know it. Arber's going to have a target on his back, so he can't run around and be crazy. He's got to be in there as a nuclear deterrent. There's a big difference. There's an art to doing it. And at the beginning of the season, he didn't understand the art form. Hopefully he's learned as the year's gone on, Brian, that he won't take bad penalties because he will have a target on his back, not from the Washington Capitals, but from the officials.
Brian?
Yeah, I'll agree with that wholeheartedly. He's going to definitely see the lineup in the second game. It has to happen. They tried to take as many liberties with the Canadian smaller players as they possibly could, and there has to be an answer for it eventually, if not game 2, game 3, because if they don't make an answer for it in the long run, it will hurt the team that they're out-physicaled.
Yep, I agree.
But at the same time, Pierre, is there a chance of Marty St. Louis, the coach, is watching that game saying, hey, you know what? We actually think we were better. We think we could have won this game. We don't want to change anything to our lineup. If we play that game over again, because don't you think that we knew Washington was going to come out strong? We knew they were going to impose themselves physically, especially in the first 10 minutes of the game. Don't you think that what happened in the first 10 minutes, Marty St. Louis and the coaching staff expected it? But then an adjustment was made, and the more the game went on, the Canadiens got better. Is there a chance you think the coaches look at that and say, you know what, we'll be okay. Let's not panic. We don't have to make any changes.
They could, except Marty knows the same thing that I'm about to tell you. Washington wants to turn this into a battle of attrition. They're not, I don't call it war because war is a whole other thing. This is a battle of attrition, okay? And the coaches know it. Marty's been through it. He's lived it. In 2004, trust me, I did all 7 games, Calgary, Tampa. Marty lived the dream. That was a battle of attrition. And neither team had anything left in Game 7. That's the series where Lecavalier fought Iginla. Trust me, it was beyond belief crazy. So if you're Montreal, you know if it becomes a battle of attrition and Washington's clearly trying to do that, you got to find a remedy for it. So even though you were close doesn't get you a win. You got to win.
Right.
I think a look at the ice time will be revealing. I don't have it right in front of me, but Tony, if you could call it up while I just jabber on for a couple of seconds. That third pair, you look at their ice time, and it's going to give you a pretty good indication whether Martin St. Louis is ready to put somebody different in that third pair. Like if Savard, is coming in a pretty low minute count, it means he's ready to see somebody else because he's already kind of not using him a lot. So how much did Savard?
I showed you the board. Savard 11:57, Struble 14:09.
Okay, what do you think of that 11:07, Pierre? Does that tell you, Jack?
11:57, 2 minutes and 12 seconds more for Struble.
Yeah, I could see how that wouldn't be an issue. The other way you can do it, you play 7D. Yeah. You play 11 forwards and 7D. Tampa does it a lot in the playoffs. It can be done. If you really think you need to stabilize a game, and I personally think you do now, you had to play Game 1 to figure out what the actual plan was going to be. Now you know what the plan is. It doesn't get easier from here. Now it gets harder.
Well, okay, so here's this. Pierre, if the Canadiens choose to put Xhekaj in the lineup and play 7D, the forward who had the least ice time in tonight's game was Emil Heineman. The forward who had the second lowest ice time in tonight's game for the Montreal Canadiens is Ivan Demidov. If you play 7D, who sits?
What were the differences in their times? Demidov.
I got to get it to you right now, but it's about a minute difference. I think Demidov 11:57, Heineman 10:56. There's 1 minute difference in both.
Yeah.
Average shift for
I'm going to say
40.
Montreal. I'm going to say Montreal would sit Heineman and play Demidov. Even though he was on the ice for the game-winning goal, I get it. He didn't look very comfortable in the game. I get it. But these are unbelievably hard dress rehearsals, really hard dress rehearsals.
For players who are going to be the future of your organization.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what this is. And like, I'm watching playoff games in the American League and watching them in the NHL. I'm watching these. I'm watching them all over, major, junior. You gotta freaking play in them to understand how hard they are. And Demidov's never played in games like this.
Pierre, everyone has an opinion on what Alex Ovechkin, on what Patrick Laine answered in regards to a question regarding Alexander Ovechkin, which is, you have a chance to go up against Ovechkin here in the playoffs. How excited are you by this opportunity to go up against him? And he answered something like, I really couldn't care less. Like, I don't care. And Pierre, I mentioned earlier today that what I don't like about it is I think it could be bulletin board material and it could be something to motivate Ovechkin even more. Others came back to me and said the best goal scorer of all time doesn't need to be motivated more. But Pierre, bulletin board material, you've been behind that bench. You've coached in Stanley Cup finals. It exists, Pierre?
Oh, yeah. The late Tommy McVie said something about our team in Pittsburgh. I'll never forget Badger Bob Johnson just said, put that up on the board. So back then there was no computer. So we got the clipping service and boom, it was right on the board.
So is it possible that Alex Ovechkin tonight with his 2 goals and 1 assist, and 1 was a game winner, Patrick Laine on the other side with a -2, Ovechkin was like, oh yeah, you said that? Is that possible?
I don't know about that one, but there was one time in the first period, I don't know if you actually was in the second period, where Ovechkin was right near Demidov by the net. And he said something to him. What he said, I don't know. But I can just say this to you guys. I did a plethora of Washington-Pittsburgh playoff series. And Ovechkin never really went after Crosby. You know who he went after? Malkin. He tried to decapitate him almost every time he was on the ice against him. So I don't know if he gets mad at guys that talk about him. I don't even know. But I'm just telling you, he takes a lot of that stuff to heart. He does.
Brian, what did you think of what Laine had to say? Do you think it was his way of saying, I'm going to concentrate on our team? Do you think it was a slight at Ovechkin? Do you think it's been blown out of proportion?
Well, I don't know if it was a slight at Ovechkin in Laine's mind, but it gave the opportunity for Ovechkin to think that it was in his mind. And that makes it not necessary. Like, was it dumb? No. Was it egregious? No. Was it unnecessary? Did you give them perhaps a little fodder? Yes. Do you need to? No, you don't. They're going to be a tough enough competition without maybe just a little bit additional fodder. I don't have a terrible time with it. I mean, it wasn't like 10 out of 10 bulletin board material, but you don't need to motivate anybody any more than they already are. It's already the playoffs. It already has a massive amount of motivation on its own.
Yeah. You know, I asked you gentlemen, if you play 7D, who's out? Because Heineman had the least ice time of any forward. Demidov was next. I think we can all agree that Demidov was like pretty much invisible tonight. We're not going to hold him against him, right? He's very young. He's got a couple of games under his belt. He played less than 10 minutes last game of the regular season, and now he's coming in when the season is at its most amped up. We all understand that. I also think, you know, he's not being helped by who he's playing with. I also think that. I've thought that from day one, and I'm going to continue to think that now. But I'm going to tell you this. You know, even though Heineman had the least ice time of any forward on the Canadiens team tonight, I thought he was better than Yoel Armia. I thought Armia was laboring.
Tony, you know what? Brian said something last week that I thought was really appropriate on Armia about his injury, Brian. And, you know, you only the people that are around the team, like you or the trainers, would know. How much do you think it's affecting him, his injury? Because I'm with Tony on this. He may be the guy that might have to come out.
Yeah, and you can see he's not comfortable to shoot the puck. I wasn't troubled by Armia's game, obviously. I thought Heineman's game was better. He's a moose on the puck. He plays a good physical game. I think he's got a playoff element to his style, Heineman. Armia's a good playoff performer too. I mean, obviously the weakest was Demidov, but like Pierre said, like it is almost like organizationally, Hughes and Gordon and Martin St. Louis, they kind of have to balance, like, what's the long-term goal versus the short-term goal here, and how much can we improve the long-term goal by letting Demidov play some minutes, even though he's not maybe ready for these minutes. And I think organizationally, the way they treat Demidov, Pierre, is they're going to tell us how they feel about this playoffs and the next 5 years by how much he plays. Because if he doesn't play at all, it means they really want to win this series, and they think this year is just as important as any of them. But if they say, hey, man, you got to learn how to play playoff hockey, he'll stay in the lineup.
Armia had 2 shots on goal in tonight's game. Heineman had 1 shot on goal. Armia had 2 hits. Heineman had 6 hits. Now, once again, look, we can probably agree that probably the least effective Montreal Canadiens forward was less so Demidov than it was Armia. But Pierre has a good point. They didn't bring Demidov over to watch him, to make him sit and watch, did they? They brought him in here.
I don't believe that. You know, like, I'll just use an example from my personal experience. When we had Jaromir as an 18 and 19-year-old, he didn't get on the power play a lot. And then all of a sudden, people realize, you know what? He's got to get on the power play. Because if he doesn't, we're wasting a talent. So eventually, he started getting more and more time. And the rest is history. I mean, those two, the 91 and 92 playoffs, Jaromir Jagr took those finals over at different times. Like, he was a wrecking machine. He was so good.
This makes me ask, if I could interject for a second, Tony, because we've got the absolute perfect guy here to ask this. Organizationally, Jagr in your time frame is Demidov in our time frame. And organizationally, Pierre, did you say to yourselves, we have to bite the bullet a little bit in the first moments of this guy's career in his playoffs because of the big picture? What did Pittsburgh organizationally do in that moment?
You know what? You're going to die when I tell you this. They traded for Yuri Hrdina to be a translator, to explain to Jaromir how his role had to be, and not to take things personally, because there was a language, there was a translation issue. But then once he started to play and understand, the rest was history. I mean, he became one of the most proficient scorers in the history of the league. But it took a while, Brian. Organizationally, we wanted the guy to play. But he needed to understand when he didn't play, why he didn't play.
Pierre, you know, we all know what the NHL playoffs are all about. And like you just said, it's a battle of attrition, and we get that, right? We really do. we also know that the referees, what they might call in the regular season, they don't call in the playoffs. I don't like it, Pierre. I think I don't want to sound homer here, but I think the Canadiens didn't get the best of the refereeing tonight. Okay, I'm going to bring up 3 plays in particular, and by the way, the plays in favor of the Capitals does not mean that there were not any in favor of the Canadiens either, right? But there's 3 of them that really stick out in my mind, guys. You correct me if I'm wrong. Ivan Demidov doesn't have the puck, and he gets tripped up by Leonard. I thought that was an interference call. Number 1. Number 2, guys, Brendan Gallagher got cross-checked in the face. Guys.
Right at the beginning of the game by Alexiev. 100%. 100%. That, and did you see what Brendan said, Tony, to your point? He said, is that how we're going to call it? Is that how we're going to play the game?
Yes.
If that's how we're going to do it, okay.
No, you said the refs, and then he went back to the bench. He's like, okay, that's the way they're going to call it.
Is this how we're going to play it? Okay, I get it. Now I know. Hudson Bay rules, meaning there are no rules.
Yeah,
Hudson Bay rules.
Yeah, and the other one, guys, is and it's much less egregious than the other 2, but Patrick Laine, 10 seconds prior to the goal, gets cross-checked by behind. The puck goes down ice. It's an icing. The Canadiens got a defensive zone face-off. Capitals end up gaining possession of the puck after Newhook takes a draw, and like 4 or 5, 10 seconds later, the Washington Capitals end up scoring the game-winning goal in overtime. But Laine did get cross-checked from behind on that play, guys. He had backed the player, boom, cross-checked. He goes down the ice, flat on the ice, boom, icing. They got to stay on the ice, back in the defensive zone. By the way, Pierre, shouldn't those players be put on the ice only for offensive zone faceoffs?
Yeah, you know what? I don't want to get too much into it, but yes, the answer is yes. Yeah.
Brian, you can get too much into it if you want.
I'm not gonna, because I mean, firstly about the officiating, I mean, it was obvious, like right from the very get-go, it was a complete different way that they were going to call the game, and we shouldn't be surprised by it. It's not our first playoffs. We've seen this before. But there is a moment where you're looking at what it seems to be a lot of hits that are way after the player has not had the puck anymore. There is a time late in the 3rd period, I swear, Lane Hudson is hit like 3 seconds after he has already passed the puck behind the net. And I was like, it was just behind that. It was like, wow, he is still getting hit. And the play is at the other blue line already. So there is that kind of moment where you're like, okay, you can't, like, Brian, you got to not complain about this, because this is playoff hockey. This is the way it goes. And it made me think, and I wrote it in my article, I did say it did make me feel like the Montreal Canadiens going forward need to be a slightly bigger hockey team.
There's no
rules
doubt.
Change for sure. Tony nailed that, Brian, and I agree with him. And you just said something. Size-wise, it has to change a little. You can have
they need to be
Lane Hudson, and you can have Cole Caulfield, and that's about it for small guys. You can't have more than that. I'm just telling you.
You're right. Pierre, you're right.
You know what, Tony? I got to tell you, like, I'm watching them at all levels. The savagery, and it is because the guys are so much faster now. This is crazy stuff, and it's all good. It's exciting as all get out. But if you have small guys, you're not going to make it.
Hey, at the beginning of the year, so the Montreal Canadiens have, and some will say that Nick Suzuki's not small because he's very thick, and I buy that. That's okay, all right? I don't have a problem with that. Yeah. But let's just say from a height perspective, right? Nick Suzuki's 5'11", Alex Newhook is 5'11", Cole Caulfield is probably 5'7", Lane Hudson's probably 5'9", Brendan Gallagher's probably somewhere in between at 5'8". Yeah. At the beginning of the year, there was a possibility of Barry Boulet, and then Harvey Pinard when he came back from his injury. Like I said, you can't have this many. It can't be. And Barry Boulet and Harvey Pinard ended up with the Laval Rockets, so that's fine. Brendan Gallagher, God love him, he gives everything he has, but he's got 2 years left on his contract. So in 2 years from now, Montreal Canadiens will have one less smaller player. But yeah, I've asked you this question on several occasions, Pierre. How many small guys can you have? And let's not put Suzuki in that list because he's he's very thick. He's probably like just centimeters away from being 6 foot tall. He's very, very thick. And Chris Nyland had a great tweet tonight, which was the captain keeps on getting mugged and he keeps on, plugging away and going further and keeps at it. And he's right. Like Nick Suzuki was battling through all of that tonight. And at the end of the night, Nick Suzuki won. He battled through and he won. Some other guys, it was a little bit more difficult tonight.
So this is why when you create a 7-player profile that I've talked to you about, you have to have the second center. So if your first guy's getting mugged, the second guy can take over. They don't have that. And that's no disrespect to Newhook. When this team's really good, Newhook's going to be their third line left winger, I think. I really do. They got to get an elite second center. That's why Nick Suzuki's getting mugged the way he is. There's nobody there to support him. And
unfortunately for Newhook, he won 3 of 8 faceoffs tonight, or pardon me, 3 of 11 faceoffs for 38%.
Yeah,
for 38%.
I've been preaching what Pierre just said that the entire year. That's been my biggest point the entire year. Without a second line center, there's just way too much attention and pressure on Nick to do absolutely everything.
Pardon me. Sorry, Brian. He won 3 and he lost 5. So it's not 3 of 11. It's 3 for 8. Continue, please.
Okay. All right. So if they don't get that answer, that's the hole that will continue to stop them from elevating to better places. I love the 7-player profile as a concept. And I think we can even add to that Pierre, of those 7, I think that the only way you can have a small player is if they're your best players. You can't have a small player that's medium or mediocre. If you're going to have a small player in your roster, they better be your goddamn best players. Lane Hudson, Cole Caulfield. If they're not on the first line, if they're not on the first or second pair, they can't be on your roster. We see what happens in the playoffs. You need big help.
Here's, the one thing, and I totally agree with Brian there. If they dress Arber, which I think they will, Arber just has to make sure that Arber's not taking penalties. I'm just telling you. That's my only concern. Because if he does, we saw what Ovechkin did. When Gouli went in to try to help out Lane Hudson with Mangiapane.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's one of those where Scotty Bowman would say to him in a meeting after the game, don't worry about Lane fighting Mangiapane. Worry about if Lane has to fight Tom Wilson.
Yeah. By the way, I just refreshed NHL.com and they have Newhook finishing 2 for 8 instead of 3 for 8. So it's even worse. He finishes at 25%, guys. He finishes at 25%.
Yeah. So
he's had a great year, Alex Newhook. Yeah. He's really improved his game. He understands his strengths, that he's a fantastic skater. And this year he learned to get to the defense and keep skating through it instead of start coasting at that moment. And that's been vital for him to skate through his defenders instead of arrive at them and start slowing down. I really love what he's done with his game this year. I think he hasn't found his ceiling yet, but he's not a center. And until they get one, they're limited in how far they can achieve. And just imagine too that not only do you have not a center, you have not a good 5-on-5 player at line A, and then you have not an experienced NHLer. And holy shit, this is incredible hockey that they play here. Demidov, who is only 19. So as a line, the second line was caved in all year. The whole differential on the team was the second line. And here we are, the playoffs have begun, and that same problem exists.
Right on.
So, Pierre, Lane Hudson had 2 assists in the hockey game tonight. That's the good news.
Yep.
The bad news is twice he left this guy all alone in front of the goal, and it ends up being a goal. He said after the game tonight, it's frustrating for sure. I lost my check twice, and they scored. It's something I got to learn from. It just sucks that it ended that way. The game-winning goal was disappointing. It's a defensive zone face-off, and the best goal scorer of all time is left all alone in front of the goal, Pierre.
Yeah, that's a tough one. And so we saw Lane have the moment in Utah for the overtime winner. We see a couple other defensive breakdowns. But I will say this, in defense of the player, he's going to learn a lot from this. I don't think he'll repeat the same mistakes going forward. But I also think when the team gets deeper and better, in some of those moments, he's not going to be out there. Lane is a boutique hire. He is a special player. But there's certain things that special player can't do. It's like Paul Coffey couldn't do.
Pardon me, I think he got burned.
Murphy couldn't do.
I think he got burned in Seattle, by the way. Not that it makes a difference.
Oh, sorry, Seattle.
It was Montour that scored, right?
It was Seattle. It was 100% Seattle. I apologize. Off the face.
Don't worry about it. It's not the end of the world. Okay. All right. So why don't we bring up the Montreal Canadiens starting? Oh, actually, you know what? Before we do, I want to say this, okay?
Yep.
So let's go back to when Slafkovsky got drafted, Pierre.
Yep.
There were videos of the Canadiens management team scouts, their analytics department, contemplating the pick, right? And Chris Boucher, I believe it was, in the analytics department said, if taking Slafkovsky first will mean that we won't just draft a player based on size in the other rounds because we have to get bigger or whatever, then it's a win for sure. Slafkovsky, some of the other scouts said, this guy could be a very good piece to the puzzle because they knew that they had some small elements on this team, right? So they said, this guy could be a very good piece to the puzzle. And they probably already knew that they had Suzuki and Caulfield going forward on the first line. And they said, he could be a very good piece to the puzzle. So now let's take a look at Slafkovsky and all 6'3.5" of him and all 225 to 230 pounds of him. And I'd love to have your thoughts on his game tonight, with the exception of the great work that I think he did on the play that ended up turning into the game-tying goal by Nick Suzuki. Because up until that point, I was saying, hey, bud, you got to play bigger, man. Pierre?
Has to play bigger with more consistency. But again, that's learned. This is his first time through this. He will learn this. He's going to see what Tom Wilson does and how he impacts a game. He's going to see what Ovechkin does to impact the game. He's going to see what Nick Dowd does to impact the game with physicality. He's going to learn that. That's not some – look at – I can just tell you, Ovechkin wasn't like hitting it out of the park when he started in playoffs. I did a lot of those games. Like he was a great player, but he wasn't like dominating. You know, it takes time. It just – who would you have taken instead of him? Logan Cooley?
Then the Canadiens would be very small at center.
That's my problem. So that's like, who would like, I can't think of another player you would have taken in that draft unless it was Logan Cooley. Because you know Shane Wright now? Shane Wright's played for two different NHL coaches.
What do you mean by that, Pierre?
I don't think Shane Wright's better than Slafkovsky. And I think Shane Wright's been underachieving. I don't think Shane Wright's been nearly as good as what everybody thought. And so who gets blamed for it? And I'm not blaming the kid, by the way. He didn't ask to go there. They drafted him. You know?
Yeah.
Just
I hear you.
Matty Beniers is a really good player. Matty Beniers, I've known him since 2010. Matty Beniers is a hell of a player. But you know what? Matty Beniers is a second-line center, not a first-line center. Slafkovsky's a first-line winger. He is.
Yeah, I think. I look at Slafkovsky's game versus his line mates, and to me, it was obvious that his line mates knew what to expect. Like even when Caulfield got run over so badly by Ovechkin in the second period, he didn't shy away from that. He said, "This is playoff hockey. I know to expect this." Suzuki got mauled the entire night. He was mauled, and he said, "I know. I made it to Stanley Cup Finals already, guys. I know what this is like. I got this. I got this." And Slafkovsky said, "Holy wow, this is physical. This is fast. I'm not used to this." And I thought he got better as the game went on. And if you can get better in your first game as the game goes on, that's not bad. That's not bad. Like I feel like I'd like to put like a little bit more positive spin on this whole evening. This was the 1 versus the 8. It was the best team in the East versus the team that made it to the playoffs on the last night. It was a bunch of guys who's never played in the playoffs before, including Sam Montembeault, who did not look nervous at all, who had a very active game, a very active glove. I remember Martin Gerber, when he played his first game for the Carolina Hurricanes, I've never seen a more frightened player in my entire life. And Bob Gainey said their goalie's scared. We got this series, but unfortunately, again, a guy named Cam Ward showed up.
Yeah, guys, listen. I think we could say
That's my trophy winner.
I think
Damn
we
it!
could say this about any team, but I think the Montreal Canadiens after that game, they're talking. They're saying we can win this series, guys. We can
compete. We can compete. We were right there with them. They're buoyed by that.
I think they're saying we can win this series, Pierre.
I agree 100%. Now, again, remember, I'm going to make it a caveat for all of this. It depends on what their health is like coming out of this game, too. There are some big body shots. And so if guys lose a half a step or if guys lose a step, it changes a series. And that's why this becomes harder as it goes along. And so they've got to stay healthy.
Pierre, if you insert Arber Xhekaj in the lineup like you said that you would, does Ovechkin not hit Caulfield? Does Wilson not hit Gouli?
No.
Does Gallagher not get cross-checked in the face?
The official, they'll show that. By the way, what happened, just as for the fans, what happens after a game, usually you make a tape of the calls you didn't like or the non-calls. And there's a supervisor of officials. They call him series supervisor now. And you say, hey, we just made a tape of 5 egregious fouls that your guys didn't call. Can you watch that? Or this guy's, I'll just say Dale Hunter, he's not playing anymore. Dale Hunter's cheating on all these faceoffs. Look at what he does with his stick. And you make a tape. And the other team will do the same thing to you. But you bring a focus to it, which the officials understand. So that cross-check, that can't happen. That's a referee's thing. That's not a player's thing. Here's what used to happen. If you start going after the other team's best players, you go by the bench with your tough guys. So you say, Arber, it's your turn. Arber goes by on an offside face-off to the bench, and he says to their bench, the next time that a guy touches Brian Wilde, I'm not taking that guy. I'm taking Ovechkin. So just so you guys know, the next time you go by Brian Wilde, I'm not taking you. I'm taking Ovechkin. And just buckle up and be ready, because that's what I'm doing. And it works. Trust me, it works.
I know, but if Xhekaj's on the ice or Ovechkin's on the ice, I mean, the puck's going in the Canadiens' net.
Well, I don't think he's going out. I don't think he's going out there to play patty cake.
I'd like to see Xhekaj play for another reason. The same reason we cited with Demidov. I really am curious about whether the Canadiens brass is looking at this as this is a bonus situation. And in the long run, the cup is probably not being won this year. And then not only does Demidov continue to see ice when he looked overwhelmed, but Xhekaj sees the ice too. They have a long future plan for this guy. They want him to be the guy that is their Tom Wilson for the next decade. So he's going to have to learn how to play some playoff hockey now too.
Great, well said, Tony. That's a really good point, because if it's good for certain guys, it's got to be good for him too. And I agree, because Xhekaj he's the only undrafted player on their team. It takes time for those guys to mature.
Yeah.
So I agree with Brian's statement there. I think it's a good point.
All right, let's take a look at the Canadiens starting lineup.
Thank you, Pierre.
And the Capitals. All right, Suzuki, Slavkovsky, Caulfield, Dvorak with Gallagher and Anderson, Newick with Laine and Demidov, Evans with Armia and Heineman. On defense, Matheson, Carrier, Gouli, Hudson, Struble, Savard. In goal, Samuel Montembeault for the Washington Capitals. Strome with Beauvillier and Ovechkin. Dubois with Wilson and McMichael. Eller with Leonard and Mangiapane. Dowd with Radish and Duhaime. On defense, Chychrun, Carlson, Sandin, and Roy, Alexiev, and Van Riemsdyk. With Logan Thompson in goal, who, by the way, guys, hadn't played a game in 3 weeks, practiced on the weekend. And you know what? But I thought this is going to be a great situation for the Canadiens. He's going to be rusty. He was good, guys.
He was really good. He was really good. And you know what? I don't know what they were saying on Canadian TV, but I was watching in the States. Washington's the only team that has 2 goalies that catch with their right hand.
Yes, right-handed, yes. And Pierre, if I can, Suzuki looked like he was going blocker side often on Logan Thompson tonight. He had one chance on a 2-on-1.
And how about the power play opportunity in the first period? Same thing, Tony. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. and Patrick Laine got a shot away on the power play, but it was far side. But I thought that Suzuki was going for his blocker. The Sick Podcast, guys, is brought to you in part by Tibi. They launched their new Ultra Lager. It's a refreshing, thirst-quenching beer, perfect for the nice spring days ahead of us. Only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, 4% ABV per can. Available in a pack of 6 and 12 in grocery stores all around the province of Quebec. It's ultra light and ultra refreshing. Who's going to win this series, guys? Well, you can go all the way with Betway and get a free bet up to $200. Your first bet loses. Scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account and redeem your welcome offer. Offer is only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offer is not available in Ontario. Must be 18 years of age and older. And please play responsibly. All right, okay, let's get to the game sheet. The score sheet, that is. We got it? Score sheet, the goals. There we go. Ovechkin, 1834 in. The Capitals on a power play, assisted by Wilson and Strome. Brian, we'll start with you. Ovechkin from his familiar spot. David Savard tries to get in front of it and turns around a little bit. He's got these huge shins and shin guards and knee guards and all that stuff and knee pads, but he's unable to block it. And it ends up beating Montembeault short side. What did you think of the goal?
Well, he ends up just being a screen for Montembeault, who I think if he would have seen that shot, probably would have stopped it. And because he was only late because he wasn't in position in terms of seeing it. So, it's just a pure goal scorer's goal. Somehow you don't think that he's made the perfect shot there, but damn it, it went in the net again.
I'm watching the goal.
It's just Ovechkin.
Yeah, I'm watching the goal and I'm going, when did Tom Wilson start playing the role of Nicholas Backstrom? That's all I was thinking.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Let's get back to now the score sheet if we can. Okay. Beauvillier, I want to talk to you guys about this goal. So after period number 1, it's 1-0 for the Washington Capitals. After period number 2, it's 2-0 for the Washington Capitals. Beauvillier scores at 12:09. Canadiens can't get out of the zone. It goes back to the point, and there's a shot that's deflected by Beauvillier. It goes down, and it looks like it could be a high stick. It looked at one point like St. Louis and Letowski were talking about it. Pierre, would you have gone to a video replay?
My biggest concern on the whole thing was I only saw one angle. Did you guys see more than one?
I only saw one angle too.
So I only saw one. So the angle I saw, it looks like the stick is over his shoulder. The reference point on that play is the shoulder. It's not the crossbar. If it was a goal instantaneously, it would have been the crossbar, and that would have been really apparent. But I couldn't tell. There must have been another angle because they didn't challenge it. And I thought, based on the angle I saw, they would have challenged Tony and Brian, but they didn't challenge it.
I thought it was worthy of a challenge, just for what you said, Pierre, that because it didn't go directly in the line that was necessary for that to continue to be hockey that was played became much more strict, and I didn't think that it fell under that strict line. I think Martin St. Louis could have won that challenge.
Yeah, from the angle I saw, it sure looked like it was above his shoulder, but Tony, I don't know if there was another angle and they couldn't tell. I just couldn't.
All right, so
it happened so fast, though.
In period number 3, the Montreal Canadiens get a power play goal, and it's Cole Caulfield. You got to get a little bit lucky too sometimes. There's a shot that goes off of 2 Capitals, and it just sits there for Cole Caulfield. But he's got Pierre. He's got those very quick hands, right? He jumps on loose pucks faster than most players in the National Hockey League. And by the time Logan Thompson moves, the puck is in and out. He narrows the lead to 2-1. And then you could just see Marty St. Louis and the reaction of the entire bench when Caulfield scored, saying, all right, you know what? We got ourselves a hockey game. Back in it. 9:28 left in regulation when Caulfield scores that goal. And then Suzuki with 3:15 left in regulation, 4:15, left in regulation. Pierre and Brian, the Canadiens were swarming. What great offensive zone pressure by Hudson and Gooley. Hudson and Carrier on that play, with Suzuki, Caulfield, and Slavkovsky. What great offensive zone pressure.
Go ahead, Pierre.
No, you go ahead.
All right. The 2-1 marker, just a quick comment about the puck luck on that. And, all the time people talk about puck luck and not fair or whatever. But, I mean, hockey is a game where you create your puck luck by the hockey being in the zone where you can have some puck luck. So I'm never against puck luck, because if you play down in the right area of the ice, you're going to get some because you deserve some, because that's where all the hockey is being played. So when they finally were able to have so much pressure on that power play, that it did fall luckily to Cole Caulfield, I have no issue with that. That's the way hockey is. That's the way puck luck works. And on the tying marker, my God, you have to point out Nick Suzuki's composure. I mean, how many players have that level of composure to stop, look, see 3 guys are panicking, to get in front of where he's standing, move over 4 feet to an open net? My word, the brain on Nick Suzuki as a hockey player is as next level as any brain in the NHL. He may not have been born with Connor McDavid's skill or Leon Draisaitl's skill or some of that really upper echelon skill, but he was born the equal in their brain. His brain, to me, is unbelievable. Nick Suzuki.
I think the debate is over. Nick Suzuki is a first-line center.
Oh, that was determined a long time ago, Pierre.
Okay, good.
89 points.
I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. This guy processes a game at another level. He really does.
Yeah.
And I couldn't agree more with both of you.
Yeah, guys, Anthony Martineau with a great point via Twitter. 15 seconds before Goulie's pass gets called for icing, 15 seconds prior to that, Patrick Laine was unable to get the puck deep in the Washington Capitals zone. He lost the puck to a Washington player in the neutral zone, keeping the play alive and not giving his line an opportunity to change. That is a key point of that game, guys. That's a key point. That's a great point by Anthony Martineau.
Agreed.
Yeah,
100%. And it's been a year-long issue with Laine. He just does not have enough respect for the importance of a good dump in. I know it's just a small hockey play, but a neutral zone turnover is death, and any good head coach knows it.
Did you guys find that, defensively speaking, it was a difficult night for Lane Hudson tonight because he was playing right defense, but he's played right defense down the stretch? Or was it a difficult hockey game for Hudson because it's a playoff game and it's called differently? Or was it a difficult game for Hudson because it's a playoff game and because he was playing right defense?
So you plant a seed of doubt in the guy's mind early on, and he's looking over his shoulder, and you're thinking, where are they coming from next? It's an adjustment period. That's his first NHL playoff game. And it's not an easy situation to go into, because you know what? They go on the board before the game and they circle 48 and say inflict pain.
Yep.
Inflict pain. It's all, he's been targeted before, but not by guys like Tom Wilson, not by guys like Ovechkin. Like, it's different. It's just different.
Pierre, you're going to love this
different. Tweet.
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
It's different because that's their game plans for 5 days.
Yeah.
Right. They for a whole week they planned what they wanted to do: be heavy, hit the small guys, concentrate on the first line, and they did all of those things.
Guys, such a real good tweet that I just read from Chris Pronger. Pierre, you can really appreciate this. Your former player, of course. It's so simple the way he put it, and yet so appropriate. Habs, ouch. This one is going to hurt. Deserve better after clawing their way back in and taking over the game. We know one thing, though. The Habs can beat the Capitals. But are they ready to? That's why it's called the best of 7. Go prove it.
Christopher's been through a few of those. I remember guys targeting him, and he's 6'6", the big difference. And back then, the rules were a little different, too. He used his stick as a weapon, and guys didn't want to go near him too much. It's hard to do that now. That's a great text. That's a great message.
I
Brian?
think Martin St. Louis will have them prepared to answer Chris Pronger's question. I'm not saying that they can win, but I think they will be prepared. And
Yeah.
I think that the lessons they took from game one, Martin St. Louis has had the same lessons in his life through his many playoff games, and he will communicate to them those lessons that they'll need to have learned with some video, with some conversation, and then their own experiences will help them too. Lane Hudson, just to back to that for just 1 second, I want to make the point that
Please.
this felt to me like the start of Lane Hudson's regular season, where he was realizing that the game was more than it was when he was in college and that there was an adaptation period. He doesn't have the same 10 games I felt it took him in the
Yeah.
regular season. He'll have to learn faster than that, the elevated level of playoff hockey. But
Yeah.
Lane Hudson has never not answered the bell in his entire hockey life, and I expect him to answer the bell here as well.
You know what? I was getting to it that it was a tough night on the defensive side of the game for Lane Hudson. And you could tell that the second the goal went in, he was like, that was my guy. This is on me. I can't leave him alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you just
They're a
know
young
now,
team, guys.
Yeah, but
they're a
you
young
just
team,
but
man.
you just know now that he's going to bounce back and he's going to play an unbelievable game in game 2, right, Pierre? You just have the feeling that he
I
will.
think so. I think he will bounce back and have a great game. But the other guys got to help too. It's not going to be that easy because I think Washington can be better than what they were, but I think Montreal can be better than what they were too in terms of consistency.
Guys, you know what? Game 2, of course, is going to be on Wednesday night in Washington. And game 3 is going to be on Friday night in Montreal. And game 4 is going to be on Sunday night in Montreal. I haven't seen too many of these around. What am I talking about? But I think I'm going to start because even though they lost, people are believing that the Montreal Canadiens can do it. So look what I had here delivered earlier today. And I want to show you, of course, you know what they are. Look at that. We haven't seen these in a while. Huh? How about these Montreal Canadiens car flags, right? Just open your window a little bit, top of your window, you close up the window, and they hang outside your car. I love seeing the Habs car flags this time of year. Really makes me pumped for the playoffs. And if you're wondering where to get these Montreal Canadiens car flags, head on over to HKY for hockey. So it's HKYjersey.com. Once again, HKYjersey.com, where they're selling officially licensed Montreal Canadiens flags. HKY Jersey has the cheapest prices online and throughout the city. And so I have a feeling over the next couple of days, we're going to see a lot more of these. And I have a feeling that they're all going to be purchased at HKYjersey.com. So special thanks to Peter for bringing them over and giving us a couple of them, and a shout out to him and his great company, not only with their car flags, but of course also their jerseys. And they can get you a jersey just like that. I hate to admit this, but I ordered an Ovechkin jersey earlier today. I almost feel like I cursed the Canadiens. I don't even know why I admitted it, because now you know that I said this. I'm gonna be blamed now for the loss tomorrow night. But anyway, what can I say? He is the greatest goal scorer of all time. But Pierre, you put together game plans. You told us 1,000 times. Now, look, this is not the first time that a team got beat by the best player on the other side, because at the end of the day, you're supposed to get beat by the best players. That's why they're the best players, because they end up beating people more often in teams more often than not. Ovechkin, 2 goals and 1 assist. Like, how do you leave him alone? How do these things happen like that?
Well, they were chasing the game. So you have to get out of your game plan, number one, when you're chasing the game on the road. So they did. And then guys start to freelance a little bit because they're getting out of the plan. That's why the first goal matters for the road team. You got to stay within your structure. And I think for Montreal, they got a little bit out of their structure and guys started running around trying to do a lot. It got them back in the game, but they couldn't flip the switch back to being, okay, we're going to be disciplined.
Brian, when the Canadiens upset the Washington Capitals back in 2010, you remember the final score of game 1?
I did the game, and I don't remember the freaking
No,
score.
I don't remember it. No.
3-2 Habs in overtime on a goal by Tomas Plekanec.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
game
that went,
one.
and that was a hell of a series. But you know what? Like, they answered tonight what I believe the difference between that team and this one was. I think this team, this present one versus that one that was also outstanding. I don't know if they won the President's Trophy, but it might have been close. This one is more structured. This is a very structured hockey team, the Capitals. They play smart on both sides of the puck. That 2010 Capitals team was not really smart on the defensive side of the puck.
No, Semin and Ovechkin were and Backstrom, they were running around all over the place. They were just trying to outskill you. That's what they were doing.
And this team's very disciplined. This is a disciplined Caps team. I expect them to go far. I think Carberry's a hell of a coach, too. Hell of a coach.
I don't expect it to go far. I expect them to lose to the Canadiens. All right, okay. The Sick Podcast, Marinaro, along with Brian Wilde and Pierre McGuire, and brought to you in part by Suzuki Authentique. You know them for their amazing and delicious Greek food. 7 locations new at Suzuki Authentique. For a limited time, you can get your order delivered for just $2 when you order on their website. Yes, just $2. So go to Suzuki Authentique and enjoy fast, hassle-free delivery at an unbelievable price. Plus, they now have a loyalty program. So sign up before your next order and start accumulating points like Alex Ovechkin, who picked up 3 points in tonight's hockey game. By the way, I'm looking at Pierre McGuire. He's got an eye on what's going on in the other action. I know him. He is. Colorado and Dallas guys are tied at 2. Winnipeg beat St. Louis by a score of 2-1. Yeah, I'm not liking my St. Louis upset pick right now. But anyway, I gave it. What can I tell you?
You're never in trouble till you lose on home ice. They haven't played at home yet.
I know. I've heard that before, too. But now you got to win 4 your next 5. LA up 2-0 on Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers. Guys, I think this is the year that LA is going to beat Edmonton.
I do, too.
I picked that as well. Even as an Edmonton Oiler fan growing up in the City of Champions, I also took the Kings.
That was a huge mistake, by the way, to let Broberg and Holloway go.
Massive, absolutely massive.
Because they got greedy and they went out and got guys that they didn't need.
Yeah,
Skinner and Arvidsson, they didn't need either one of those guys, and they went and got them, and that's when they became exposed. That was not, and that was before Stan Bowman got there.
Yeah,
that's. Look I'm not trying to pick a fight with Jeff Jackson, but that's on him.
I hear you.
Not on anybody else.
And Dylan Holloway finished 3rd in Blues scoring. I mean, what a year he had. And you know what? He was great in college, too. It didn't surprise anybody that he was great.
He was a great World Junior player. He's great at Wisconsin. He's a good player. I watch him a lot.
You can't lose great players like that. And Broberg, they drafted top 10 too. I mean, as an Oiler fan, it made absolutely no sense, man.
Yeah,
just no sense whatsoever. Those were guys were your future, and you treated them like you were past.
Yep.
And the guys that were the past, they treated like they were the future. It's just nonsensical, man.
All right, okay.
Sorry, I'm on a tangent, a little upset.
Yeah, no problem. Here we go. Why don't we do this? It's now your opportunity to ask Pierre and ask Brian. We'll get to your questions. We'll also get to your phone calls at 1-888-585-7425, 1-888-585-6. By the way, over the next couple, game 2, Pierre, you're going to be with Shane Gaumont. I'm going to join you gentlemen as well after the post-game show starts. I'll be joining you from Washington. So I'm going down for the game with my colleagues at BPM Sports, Max Lalonde, Anthony Desaulniers, and Gilbert Delorme. We're going to be getting on a private jet, an 8-seater, in the afternoon. Yeah. I think I'm going to take about 8 gravel, and I'm going to try and sleep as best as I can because I'm, not Mr. Courageous here, but I'm going anyway. And so I'll join you after the game with my colleagues from BPM Sports, and we'll chime in for a little bit. And then, by the way, game 3, knowing us on a Friday night in Montreal, don't be surprised if we throw a watch party and your way, and of course, a Habs post-game show live from an establishment in Montreal. Knowing in yellow, he probably has that already signed, sealed, and delivered. But, once again, don't be surprised if we throw that your way. Let's get to your phone calls at 1-888-585-6, 1-888-585-7425. And let's go straight to caller number 1 on the night. And I believe we have Kyle. Kyle, how are you?
Hey, how you doing, Tony?
We're okay. Would have been nice for the Montreal Canadiens to win game 1, huh?
Yeah, no kidding, eh? Yeah. Pierre and Brian, Tony, good to see you guys. Been following along on YouTube there. So I heard what you guys said earlier. The second line center, that's a killer for the boys. So what do you think? Do you slot Evans in? Do you move Dvorak around? Because really, Newhook is just he's not driving the play. Can you give me some insight there?
I wouldn't mess around with the lines too much. You move one guy, it affects, maybe 6 guys. That's part of the problem. But, Kyle, you're not wrong. I still think Newhook, in a perfect world, your third line left winger, and you got a chance to have a real good team. But they got to figure something out in this series. They're going to have to figure something out, whatever it is. I don't know what they're going to do, but they're going to have to figure something out.
Yeah,
it is what it is for now.
Yeah, no, they're not going to put up any offense on that line. I mean, you guys talked about it earlier with line A. Coming across center ice. There's nothing there, and it's not the centerman's fault. Definitely not. But there's got to be something else. And if push comes to shove, if they lose the next game, maybe they make a move. But right now, you're looking at this is what they have. That's it.
I'll tell you what's a challenge with that line, besides the fact that, I agree with Pierre that I think that although Newhook's been trying his best down the stretch when he was given the opportunity because of Kirby Dach's injury, I agree with Pierre that Alex Newhook is going to be a winger for the Canadiens going forward instead of a centerman. At least that's what I think, number one. Number two, Patrick Laine has a certain gift and he has a certain talent, and we know what it is. Unfortunately, speed is not one of them. Marty St. Louis team, he likes players that can either move their feet and or play very fast. I'm not sure Laine does either of those either. So, when he's not moving those feet, he kind of sticks out for the wrong reasons. Demidov, we know, lacks experience, and it's going to come. Like, he's learning on the job right now. But you're supposed to put a player like Demidov in the best situation possible. Are they doing that? Pierre, I know this is crazy, but Max Lapierre at one point said that he would have introduced Demidov with Evans and not with Newhook.
I agreed. I agreed with that. We both said it. Yes.
Would you go back to that?
I personally would, but what do? You move Heineman up? I mean, that's what I would do. I thought that right from the start. Evans will get in the puck. Evans can skate with him, and Evans will cover up whatever defensive foibles he has. Evans will cover it up.
Okay, so hold on a second. When you said, what do? You put a Heineman up there? What if you make Evans the centerman for that entire line and you bring Newhook down? Yeah. If that line is going to throw their second line at the Canadian second line more often than not, or the first line, like tonight, Ovechkin scores the game-winning goal.
Yep.
The Newhook line is on the ice.
Mm-hmm.
If the Evans line is on the ice, are you not feeling more comfortable? Washington has home ice advantage.
Yep.
Would you not convert Newhook and Evans next game?
I think about it for sure. I do. I think it's a relevant point. I think about it.
Brian?
I think the biggest problem is that entire second line doesn't really have a defense-first player. Every one of them is an offense-first player, and as a result, they're getting caved in. So, how do you move that to a footprint that has more defense? Heineman is one way. He's responsible, but he is on the wing. If you're looking for better defense, win the middle, win the game is something I've been saying since I'm about 30. So maybe if I can win the middle on the second line with Evans, maybe I got a chance to win the game. So I probably look at Evans in the second line and drop Newhook down. It doesn't necessarily open up the offense for Demidov and Laine, though, and it just shows what Pierre said pretty much off the hop here in the hour we've been on, is that's the hole in the team, a 200-foot center who can win the middle of the ice.
You want the stat of the night?
Sure, of course.
I'm reading it and I can't believe it. I'm like, no, this can't be true. That was Alex Ovechkin's first ever overtime playoff goal.
Oh yeah, I heard that. Ron McLean said it just before overtime started, and then everybody said he jinxed the Canadiens, and then he ended up scoring. So Ron felt terrible. Jinxing is hilarious in sports, right? Like it happened because Ron mentioned it.
You want a scoring update? Colorado 3, Dallas 2.
Wow, Dallas had a power play a couple of minutes ago. Look at that.
They had a 2-man advantage.
Wow, really?
Sammy Girard, Lehkonen, and then, oh boy, what a shot. Wow.
Who?
I can't. Oh, it's looking like O'Brien. I can't tell from this angle. Do you see it there, Tony?
Yeah, it's Logan O'Connor.
It's O'Connor. There you go.
Yeah.
Couldn't tell if it was a 5 or a 9.
No, it's Logan O'Connor, and I could tell what happened on that play because it's assisted by Lehkonen and Girard, and I could tell that because I got Samuel Girard in my hockey pool. So I finally got myself a point. But Logan O'Connor, by the way, I think he's got like 4 points in the first 2 games of the series.
Yeah,
and that's incredible because if Landeskog was out for the pregame warmup, did you see that, guys? And ultimately,
I knew he was.
And he didn't go in, but I'm wondering if he would have gone in, who would have come out?
I don't know.
Anyway, what a series we have there, eh? But if Colorado gets over Dallas, they're going to be hard to stop.
Agreed. It just shows too, though. I mean, we look at Colorado's pathway, and just look at every team's pathway. You really got to go through a little bit of pain and a little bit of learning of experience and suffer some hard lessons. That's why I'm just so optimistic about what the Canadiens were able to achieve this season. And even now, even in a loss tonight, that was a lesson learned on how the game was going to be played, and then they fought, so they gained some faith and confidence there, taking it to overtime. It's all gravy, guys. It's all such bonus right now for this extremely young team, what they're going through. So I don't know. I just have a real kind of like a very long-term look at what's going on right now, and a long-term look at, I think Martin St. Louis is doing too. I think he's really looking at everything from a teaching perspective and a long-term perspective on what he can pass on right now, that they can learn, that for 3-4 years from now, if they keep fitting in that 7-player profile that Pierre talks about, which I still think they're 2 players shy, when they get there, they can take all of these things they're learning right now and they can be special.
Pierre, who did you have before the playoffs started here in the Stanley Cup final? Just curious.
To win I had Colorado playing Toronto in the final.
Toronto in the final, eh? Wow.
Yeah.
Could I ask Pierre a question, Tony?
Yeah, I have Colorado Tampa, by the way. Go ahead.
Pierre, in that 7-player profile that you've been talking about for a very long time, I think I first heard you say it about a decade ago. Where would you say the Canadiens are right now in that 7-player profile? And if you wouldn't mind, would you name the players? I assume they're at around 5, and they still have 2 to go, right?
Yeah, no, I'd love to do it. So they have one of the 2 centermen. Suzuki's one of the 2. Okay, so they're shy on the center. They have the specialist forward with Jake Evans, because it's either a power play or penalty kill. They're also a little bit because line aids can be the specialist. The power forward's evolving. You know what I mean? It's not Slav yet, but eventually it will be. So they've got, of the 4 forwards, they basically have 2 nailed down.
Right.
And they've got to get better at that. On defense, they have an elite puck mover in Lane Hudson. And I think they have an elite shutdown guy, but he's not there yet in Gooley. So he's not there yet.
That's 6. Okay. And then the 7 is goalie.
The goalie. And so the goalie, I think, is eventually coming up from Laval.
And Fowler.
Montembeault is good, but I don't think Montembeault is going to be that guy.
Okay. All right. Good. I like it.
They're like 5 of 7. They have 5 of 7.
And the big one isn't the power forward. The big one is this second line center.
Yeah, the second line center, because you never know. Like, if let's just say Demidov turns out to be a superstar, which a lot of people think, and I'm one of them, then that changes a lot of the dynamic too, because he can be your specialist forward.
So, okay.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, guys, if we can, just congratulations go out to Pascal Vincent, who earlier
Yes,
in the
coach
day
of the year.
was the AHL's outstanding coach for the 2025 season. So Pascal Vincent wins the coach of the year in the American Hockey League. Isn't that amazing for him, eh?
Amazing, and I really hope he gets on the Canadian staff sooner rather than later for the excellence that he is done down there. The organization, when I go to the Laval, I cannot believe how organized that team is in terms of the style of play they have. They are so well coached. He's impressive. He's really
I've
impressive.
had so much fun this season watching them both live and on TV. It's been fantastic. Really impressed.
Let's go to Jacob. Jacob, you there?
Yep.
Jacob, what's going on? You're up to talk to Pierre McGuire and Brian Wilde. Very unfortunate. Canadiens claw their way back in the game, down 1-0 after 1, down 2-0 after 2, tie the game at 2 with 4.5 minutes to play in regulation, but end up losing early on in overtime. Your thoughts?
I'm not going to lie, guys, but they impressed me tonight. I mean, the way that the game started, the Capitals were, they were imposing the rhythm, a lot of physicality. They were generating a lot of changes. I think it would have been easy to write them off after the first period, especially, and also after the second period. And even halfway through the third period, the Canes weren't able to get anything offensively. But the Caulfield goal changed the momentum of the game. Then Suzuki tied the game. And then they came really close. Matheson, who missed a chance of like 20 seconds. So, but in my opinion, tonight, what we noticed and what we learned is that the Canes' young players, even though they may appear to be small and not look like players that can win in the playoffs considering their lack of size, but they've got the guts, they got character. Caulfield, Suzuki, Hudson, have been easy for those guys to disappear after they got hit. They got back up on their feet. They got some goals. They worked hard. In my opinion, I think it's very positive, and I think that it's only a step in the right direction. Obviously, Suzuki and Caulfield have already gone to the Stanley Cup final. They were key pieces of that run, but I really love what's going on with this team, and I think that they're going to cause surprise in this series. I think they're going to most likely 50-50, but I think they could beat the Capitals Wednesday. And I predicted before the series that they would win in 6, and I'm going to maintain that even though they lost tonight.
Wow.
Very good performance.
Guys,
Very good call. Very good call, Jacob. Very good call.
Brian?
Great.
I believe in the team. They have like you guys were talking about the 7-player profile. They're not there yet, but I guarantee once they fill that up, they're going to be, even though, like I said, I think they need more size added to this team, but they're going to be dangerous, and they're going to be dangerous, I think, even this year. I don't think they're an easy outing. I think Capitals are going to have a hard time, and it's going to be a very long series and very close. So
okay, why don't you stay on, though? I want to bring up something. I don't know if we can. Can we bring it up? Guys, it's about the inexperience of several Montreal Canadiens players. We can bring it up. There you have it. So RDS posted this. The following players played tonight in their first NHL playoff game: Demidov, Goulet, Heineman, Hudson, Montembeault, Slavkovsky, and Struble. Xhekaj, Pezzetta, Kapanen, and Dovesh didn't play. They haven't played an NHL playoff game either. So, guys, the caller thinks that the Canadiens will come back in this series and they'll win it in 6, and he might be right. But Brian, this inexperience.
First.
Yeah.
I do think Xhekaj, I think he would help in this series. I think they're probably going to put Struble the next game, but I think when they get back to the Bell Center, in case whatever happens the next game, I think that Xhekaj is going to get put back in. I think, like I said, they have so much character that they didn't seem to get phased out when they kept getting hit. So I think I'm not that worried, to be honest, unless Wilson, he injures one of their top guys. But I think I still would put Xhekaj in soon, but I think they're going to be fine. I really do. I really believe in this team. They surprised me all year, and I can't doubt them anymore. And we saw it in the third period. This team is legit. They're not there yet. It's going to take a few more years, but I think they're going to be dangerous once they have, like I said, a legit team that can have a Stanley Cup. I wouldn't be surprised if they win one within 3 years. Honestly, I really do.
Whoa, 3 years. That would be amazing. Thank you so much, Jacob, for the amazing phone call. Pretty positive stuff. I guess, there are a couple of Montreal Canadiens fans probably down tonight, and they're probably excited after hearing that call. Guys, it is unbelievable experience for the young players. We'll take, I think, one final call. Hey, Yellow and Sammy, let's go to Jim. Jim, are you there?
Hey, Tony, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Say hi to Pierre McGuire and Brian Wilde.
How you doing, gentlemen?
Excellent,
Hey.
Jim.
Well, it's going to be hard to top the last caller. I just wanted to say I'm more interested, not so much. I mean, it would be great for them to push through and win the series, but I'd like to see the players, the young players, play more, as opposed to like, I know they can make mistakes, but I want to see them get that experience. And
Hello, you there?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. You were saying you want to see the young players play more and get that experience?
Oh, I thought I was cut off. Sorry.
No. We cut out for a second, but you're back. You want to see the young players play more and get that experience?
Yeah, I want to see them play more and get that experience. I realize, that there's going to be mistakes made and, perhaps even games could be lost because of it. But I think it's more important that, the kids get to play. I'd like to see Arber get in there. I think, guys step up in the playoffs. I think Arber could be one of those guys who just steps up in the playoffs, and I think he will. Another thing I wanted to ask, because I don't really know. I'm sorry?
Go ahead.
Another thing I wanted to say was, I'm sorry, I just keep cutting off.
No, we hear you.
No,
Go ahead.
we hear you. We're just being
keep
quiet.
Talking. Just keep talking. We're listening.
Oh, okay, sorry. Another thing I wanted to say was,
okay.
That time he was cut off.
That time he was cut off.
That time he was finally correct.
We'll take 3 questions and then we'll call it a night. It's too bad because I want to hear what he wants to say. But anyway, let's take 3 questions. All right, Mike Vance says, what does this young coach say to this young group to keep them focused? Pierre?
Turn the page. We played some really good minutes tonight. We're coming back in game 2, and we're going to get a split.
Fantastic. Second question. This one for Brian Wilde, Tony, Pierre, Brian. Can you think of any one good reason to keep the Liney, Newhook, Demidov line together? Brian?
The only good reason I can think of is that you can't just call in players that are not available just yet to the organization. They're going to have to improve their team over the long haul.
Ditto. I kind of like what Tony said, though. I wouldn't be adverse to putting Jake Evans up there, moving Newhook down.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that.
Yep.
Tony gets better as the night goes on. Next question. And the final one. YouTube channel's Name 30 says, Hudson has to play on the left side. No reason to have your second best player play on the wrong side. Why is St. Louis not playing him on the left side? Pierre?
I don't agree with the questioner. Sorry about that. I watched Raymond Bourque for years play on the right side as a left-hand shot. I don't think that Lane Hudson, it's just a starting position. It really doesn't matter. I look at no, I watched Slava Fetisov play as a left shot on the right side. So no, I don't agree. I respectfully don't agree.
Call me crazy, but I think he might end up having more long-term success playing on the offside of defense because he likes to carry the puck and he will end up cutting in where he'll see more of the ice.
The only thing I'd say, and again, this comes from having worked with Paul Coffey. Paul played on the left side, and one of the reasons why he liked to cross over right over left when he come behind the net. If you're Lane Hudson and you're a left shot, you got to cross over left over right when you're coming around the net. It's a little harder. It's a little harder to get that acceleration. If he was coming from the left side, he's such a good skater. You create separation. It's just a thought. It's only one of the things that I just remember from having worked with Paul.
Yeah.
And I just want to add there, just statistically, he was minus 20 this year on the left and plus 20 on the right.
Yeah.
Where are you getting that from?
Yeah.
I have no problem at all. I don't statistically, he was a much better player. Points wise, plus minus wise on the right side. He's one of those rare players. It doesn't seem to matter one way or the other. Mike Matheson's entire game broke down on the wrong side. So they said, let's try somebody else.
Yeah.
Lane Hudson did not break down at all on the wrong side. Offside, pardon me.
Thank you to Zuflaki Authentique Greek food with 7 locations. all over the city, and new at Souvlaki Authentic for limited time offer. You can get your order delivered for just $2. Special thanks to Betway. Go all the way with Betway for your action for NHL play games, versus be it the Montreal Canadiens games or other playoff series. Special thanks to Bittt, to Tibi. Special thanks to Playground. Special thanks to Energy Transportation Group for all of them being partners of the Sick Podcast. And special thanks to Peter and the great people over at HKYjersey.com for bringing over their Montreal Canadiens flags. And I hope to see many of these car flags. And they're so well made. And you just roll down your window and you put this, sit it on the top of your window and then close the window up. And the car flag is hanging from outside of your car. They've already sold many of them. And at HKYjersey.com, they're an official seller. And hopefully we're going to see a lot more by the time Game 3 comes around. Friday night in Montreal, Game 4, Sunday night in Montreal. But before that, Game 2, Wednesday night in Washington. I'll be back tomorrow night, Tuesday night, same time, same place at 10 p.m. on the Sick Podcast. Brian Wilde and Pierre McGuire, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And speaking of Pierre McGuire, special thanks to Restaurant Vago Italien, Tommaso and Angelo for being back for the playoffs after bringing you Pierre McGuire and the McGuire Report for 40 regular season games. They're back in the playoffs. Canadians lose by a score of 3-2 in overtime, but they came back from 2-0 down. They fought, they learned, they never gave up, and I have a feeling that they haven't said their final word yet in this series. It's only one game. You need to win 4 to win a series, and as Pierre McGuire often says, you're not in trouble until you lose one on home ice, and that hasn't happened yet for the Montreal Canadiens either. It almost happened to the Washington Capitals. It hasn't happened to the Canadiens. Thanks for watching. Ciao for now. We'll talk to you again tomorrow night at 10 p.m.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. LaBita.tb, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.